Bryce, did I add you? There we go.
Hey, you figured it
Hey,
out. Awesome.
figured it out. It wasn't anything like I was trying to begin with. So
So, well, it's good to meet you, first of all.
good to meet you
Am
too.
I don't know what the light is. And oh, yeah, I guess I am coming up. Okay, cool. Um,
You're good.
so the question I wanted to ask you was, you mentioned a lot of stuff. I forgot half of the questions, but I think one of
I know.
them,
I was rambling.
yeah, I think one of them was, you said something about God has he wanted to have a chosen people. You were talking about the Old Testament. And so
Yes.
God has a chosen people, the Hebrews or the Israelites. So my question
Yeah.
for you was, why do you think God needed to have a chosen people? Like, what was the
Yeah.
benefit to that? How did that advance his agenda or whatever? Because I see a
Yeah.
lot of
I know. I
damage
thought.
that caused, and that whole idea really, I find to be uh, the cause of a lot of problems in religion and just in sociology. So why would God have a chosen people? That's kind of what my question is.
Yeah, I think that makes complete sense. So, um, at so right now today we don't often see God working directly. Like, it's not like God calls one of us and says, Moses, lift your snake, and this is what's going to happen. Like, he doesn't kind of dictate right through us, right? It's all coming through the Bible. And I don't know, because I don't really necessarily know how I feel about modern day prophets or whatever, but there's less of that. God isn't as visible to us. I think at that time, God was kind of establishing himself with people, and chose the Israelites because they were the bloodline to Jesus, as that chosen people for a couple of reasons. One, to show how God will never forsake you. It was almost like a picture into, when you, because if you think about Exodus in the Old Testament, it's very cyclical, right? So it's like the people, they're following Jesus, or God, I'm sorry, they're following God, they're doing all the right things that he asked them to do, and then they fall away, and then they're in this sin, and then eventually they decide they want to follow God, and it's just like, it's the cycle, you know. And I think it was just helping people to understand that when you follow God, God will provide for you when you put your trust and your faith into him in a larger picture, and to set those people apart as the children of God. But then I think his plan though wasn't for that to be forever, because if you keep reading the Bible, eventually Christianity is open to all people.
Yeah, but don't you see the problem with doing that? That if that was his MO, if he was intent to reveal himself to a specific people and have them follow him and have that be the way that he uh, demonstrates the necessity for him, doesn't it seem to work against him by not the fact that he didn't reveal himself to the other people? You know, like he specifically
Yeah.
excluded everyone else in the world besides this small group of people. And then he told these people that these other people in the world were wicked, they were evil. You need to commit genocides against them. You need to do all of these things because they're evil and wicked, when he was never with them in the first place. So he engineered a system
Yeah.
that caused all of the wickedness with everyone else. Why would he do that? Why wouldn't he
Yeah.
just reveal himself to
So
everybody? Why would he have
so
different
let's
people going against each
let's
other?
take a let's take one step back, and I just want to mention one person, to kind of just to make a case, in this for this. So Job.
Hmm.
Okay, so the book of Job. If you've read the book of Job, there's lots of suffering. He's tested. That's kind of like it allows us to see the supernatural, fight that's going on between, God and Satan and whatever. But Job wasn't an Israelite. Job wasn't a chosen person. He
Sure.
didn't fit into that category. However, we can be
Well, there were no
pretty clear
Israelites
at the
yet,
end.
so
Right,
yeah.
right. You're right, but we can be pretty clear though by the end of that, right? That Job has a relationship with God, and Job is for God. So I think that if we look at the Bible as as a guide to use, as God's word for us to use moving forward, um, there's a lot to learn, and that's kind of what we're talking about. But I also believe, very much so, that people can get to God outside of that. So there could have been Egyptians or different people that would be able to end up in heaven with God because God knows their hearts. And if they were not, like, for example, if we just go back to the flood, right? God knew everyone's heart. So he knew that Noah was the only one righteous. And he knew that. So he saved him. And like if there's other stories in the Bible where they talk about, but if there's even just one righteous, will you save them? And God knows our hearts. He's not going to let somebody just because they're a different like nationality not be able to be with him because of
Yeah,
that,
but all the
you know.
examples you gave, including Job and Noah, were all described as men of God. They were all aware of God, whereas the Egyptians, for example, wouldn't have been. They would have been aware of Ra and Apophis and all these other gods that were the Egyptian gods and had no awareness of the God of Abraham. So,
But even like a Moses, God knew Moses's heart, so he brought him over to be with his people. I just think that God, if now, granted, I think that at that time, there were people, and people get really upset about like, oh, the genocide. But then if you really knew what people were doing, they were taking babies and throwing them into a pit of fire and celebrating it and making a festival out of it. And, these people were super, super, super evil. And and people get upset that like, oh, God killed, it was genocide, but it was like, yeah, but it was genocide of horrific things.
well, it was
I just
genocide
think
of.
that because
Go ahead. I'm gonna let you finish. Go ahead and finish your thought.
I just think that like God knows our heart, right? And if you look at like if you study philosophy at all and you look through kind of like make an argument as to like I'm trying to think of the best word to use, but like some people can be saved, I believe, through that may never have, like, let's say you're born, right, and you're born out in the wilderness, and you like never really meet any other people, maybe your family, but you connect with a higher power, and you don't even know his name's God, you don't know Jesus, whatever, but you have this relationship. I believe they're saved because the Bible alludes to the fact that it's all about that personal relationship, and he makes himself known to us even in creation itself. So I feel like it's all based on your heart less than just who you
So you
are.
don't think
I don't
you don't
know.
think you have to be a follower of Christ in order to be saved? Like you don't have to
Oh no,
believe in Jesus Christ?
yeah, I do. 99% of the time I do. I'm just saying for that one person who's never even been told of Jesus who's never heard of him, maybe lived like in an isolated area where, but they could have that relationship in their heart. They just didn't label it as Jesus, you know?
So I don't want to take up all your time because there's probably a couple other people who want to come on, but I wanted to ask you one more thing, and it was about the we touched on genocide for a second, but I just want to ask you in general, do you think that the laws that were given in the Old Testament were moral laws?
No, not moral to our standards for sure.
Well, or to
I
any
just,
standard.
no, well, no.
Okay.
Well, I don't think they're moral. No.
Okay.
Are they moral? No. But I think that
Why would
at that
God give
time,
immoral laws?
I just think that okay, well, let's talk about it with a specific
Well,
example so it makes
we
it
might as
easier.
well
So,
use genocide since we were already kind of talking about it.
but genocide of what? Like genocide of who?
Genocide of we can use the Canaanites or the
Okay.
Amalekites or any of those
So let's just start with
groups.
the
Okay.
Canaanites. So the Canaanites were, they were practicing such horrible practices that involved killing babies, throwing them into these pits of fire.
Mm-hmm.
And while we, as human beings, um, and especially if you're a believer and a follower of Christ, we really shouldn't be practicing an eye for an eye, right? If you decide, if you want to go ahead and call me a name right now, I'm not going to call you one back. Like that's the way a Christian should be living. But we're people. God is God, and God does have a right to create and take away. So if God creates a creation, right, and there's a group of people and they're doing their activity is so sinful that it's harming others, because it wasn't just harming that nation, as people came in and saw things that were going on and whatever, and if he decided that, you know what, this isn't going to take place anymore, it's too evil, I just don't know that we as people have a good enough understanding to know why God would make that decision. And I think that God would have had a moral reason, a moral like framework as to why that would have been a better decision.
The problem with that is that even if that were true, even if God, no, I don't question the fact that if there was a God, he would have the authority to commit genocide. He would have the authority to kill whoever he wanted. The problem is, in that particular scenario, he ordered men to kill other men on his behalf. If they were so evil, why wouldn't he just kill them himself? Why would he order a nation to slaughter another nation? Because now you're getting, that's
Yeah.
the same thing that the Islamic extremists are doing today, that the ones that interpret
Yeah.
the Quran to say that they have to commit terrorism. Not all Muslims do that, but there's a group that does. They believe it's their
Yeah.
work to enact God's will to
Yeah.
kill the infidels, you know? So that's kind of the
Yeah.
same thing that the Old Testament is doing, at least in that example,
In
you
that
know?
example. Yeah, and you know what? That's a really good point, and that's definitely something I'll take some time to read through a little more and
Okay. Sure.
take my time through it and see, because it's easy to just say I believe and I'm going to defend everything there is, and
Right.
but I think that fairly we have to have an open mind and ask questions and seek to understand and be willing to be wrong.
Sure.
So
And the
I
last thing
can
I'll say on that particular example, and then I'll let you bring somebody else on if you want to, it's just that, and you don't have to have an answer for this if you don't have one right away, but with respect to the whole genocide thing, the Canaanites, the Amalekites, just assume that they were all really evil, that they were burning children and doing all this crazy stuff. But logically, that would only apply to the adults. And the problem I have with both of those commands is that God
yeah.
ordered the slaughter of the children as well and the
Mm-hmm.
infants, you know? It doesn't make sense to say these people are evil because they're killing children and then go kill all the children. You know, that's kind of an
Yeah.
inconsistency of logic to me. There could have been 10 other ways that he could have stopped. He's still there?
I'm
Okay.
here, but I don't know what happened. Hold on, wait. I think I flipped myself.
Yeah, you did. Basically, though, yeah, he could have, he could have had the infants, the children, all those people spared, but he had them specifically kill everybody, the entire society. So anyway, that's just something to think about when you look at whether the commands to commit genocide were good and worthy of that. So that's all I wanted to say, but I'll get off.
Well, nice talking to you.
Good to meet you, and maybe we'll do it again.
You too.
All right.
Thanks for being civil.
Yep, no problem.
I'm trying to figure out how to flip myself back over.
Usually, I think if you just touch the screen, if you touch the image, it should flip over, maybe. I can't back that up. I'm technologically challenged too, but all right, I'm off.
I feel like I'm tired too. So you put those two together and it's like, what?
Right.
All right, have a good one,
Yep,
Bryce.
have a good one.